everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Book Readers Talks. We have with us from Pune Rishabh, who works in a startup and is an avid reader. So let us talk to him and learn about his passion for books. Hi, Rishabh.
Hi, Lalita.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I just mentioned that you work in a startup, but please,
Yeah,
can you tell us more about it?
yeah. So Pune is one of the emerging IT cities of the country, right? So while Bangalore takes the lead in startups, Pune is the second, and a lot of new companies are building up here in the city, and they are trying to solve different problems. What we are trying to solve is a very specific problem of manufacturing industries, and Pune is also a hub of manufacturing industries, right? So the best combination, basically, the IT and manufacturing. So we're trying to solve some of the problems which have not been solved before in terms of process optimization, cost reduction, and so on and so forth, using machine learning, data, and so on.
Okay.
And I basically work on the same problem statement.
Oh, that's interesting. You are also a passionate reader.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you, how did your passion for reading start?
Um, yeah. I think since childhood, I was a very inquisitive person, a child, and who always wanted new content in life, right? In terms of information, in terms of stories, and basically that hunger for stories, be it my friends reciting it while going to the school in the bus, or me
Mhm.
reading it in newspaper cuttings. Basically, I just wanted stories. I just wanted information, whether it was like fake or true, did not matter. I just wanted curious information about the world, about things, and that I think books have been one constant source of the same. So basically, this hunger for information, curiosity for new, let's say, answers to various questions which are around us, has led me to reach out to different sources. Books have been the most, let's say, authentic way and very natural way of connecting with things, with its own pace, where you're not bounded by somebody else. You about uh, telling you the whole story. You can have your own pace, spend your own time, and basically enjoy the journey. So I think that's these are the two best combinations that got me in love with the books.
Yes, do you recall any specific book or a moment that sparked your interest in reading?
Yeah, so I have had multiple book slumps in life. So because of various things happening in life, we fall out of this hobby, right? So we at various points of time, I've had different books which got me out of that slump. So not one single book which sparked my reading, let's say, interest. But I would mention some of them. Jay was one of those big books that I read in class 12, for example. I mean, it was a heavy book in Hindi, translated from Marathi. Shivaji Sawant wrote that book. Also
Yeah.
winner of the Gyanpith Puraskar in India, and an absolutely mind blowing book. And it just made me fall in love with books, at the same time with Marathi. I mean, as a child in UP, some remote area, having no clue about Marathi whatsoever, just knowing that there is one city, Mumbai, where everybody goes, because like every other guy in UP is in Mumbai. So I just knew that there is one city in Mumbai. There's one city called Mumbai. People go there. People earn money. They come back once in a while. There are some people who went and never come back. But what is Marathi? I mean, made me fall in love with Marathi when I did not have any clue about Marathi. That's the power of books, right? Just imagine that if the translated version can blow my mind, let's say, on such a level, then what would be the actual impact in the original written, basically, book? Mrityunjay was one. Second, this was 2013, 14, and then came a book slump later on, which basically was solved by India after Gandhi by Ramchandra Guha. So because of this curiosity, information about knowing things about us, around us, I think, in why not? I mean, I did not know much about India, but I think it's a great book which gets you introduced to everything that happened after independence. The school books, they only teach you about things till independence, and when we achieve independence, it's like a happy story, happy ending. Let's go home. In the history books, like, completely stop in class 10. But what happened afterwards is equally interesting, and painful journey that India followed. It tells you how painful the journey after independence was, and
Mm.
the role various leaders played during this phase to get India out of that difficult situation where which independent had basically independent India was equally fragile a nation, right? And with roughly single digit literacy rate, and almost let's say problems related to food security and population and job security, etc. With almost zero industries. It's a great journey that India has followed. So all this information, people take it for granted, right? Living in this safe environment, they don't know what it has took us to come to this level. People just want to abuse this country at every point of time. That it doesn't give us what they see on Instagram or what they see on the internet about other countries, right? But just the sheer amount of effort that this country has put in this long journey of last 75 odd years. No, people don't know much about it. So India After Gandhi is one of those books that makes you so humbled and makes you
Mm.
filled with that gratitude feeling about this whole country where a guy from UP who like would say a completely different language background is working in Pune, is getting all the love from the
Mm.
people, right? And can earn a living and basically help this whole country grow forward. I mean, this is fascinating. I mean, look at the
Mm.
differences in the states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. I mean, the same level of differences that France and Germany have in their languages, right?
Mm.
So people at that time of at that time of the time, I mean, the world, people were building states based on languages, but this whole country, I mean, people were predicting it to disintegrate within next 5 years, next drought, and it will
Mm.
disintegrate and whatever not. And this country has stood its ground and is stronger as ever, right? So um
Yeah.
so that's the story that these books have. I mean, it's a 600-page book that will make you fall in love with itself, right? And
Good job.
then I mean, the multiple books with different times, right? I can go on, select a book,
Mm.
and it will take me 30 minutes of a podcast just to discuss that book.
Yeah.
A lot of books have played their role, and that basically is the answer to this question from my side.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. That was a long explanation, but a good
yeah,
one. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thanks.
What genres of books do you enjoy the most?
Yeah. So if you would ask me this question, let's say today, I'll have an answer. Let's say if you'll go back
Mhm.
1 year, I'll have a different answer. 1 year back, different answer. So things answers have changed over time. So
Okay.
never restricted myself to any genres. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
I picked the books based on what I liked at that moment, what I wanted to study about, what I wanted to read about. As I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, books were always a source of information for me, source of stories for me, and I've tried to explore multiple genres. But at this moment, currently, I'm reading about things which are, let's say, okay, I can't really come up with an answer to explain why I'm reading those books because it's a journey which has led me to these books. Basically, last 1 year, I spent reading Nassim Nicholas Taleb
Mm-hmm.
and his books basically. So he's written 5 books, and all of those books have different, let's say, themes, different topics. But overall genre is non-fiction.
Okay.
If I answer your question, so basically non-fiction is what I have been reading last one and
Mhm.
2 years with.
What role do books play in your life?
They I mean, if you
Mm-hmm.
ask people a simple question that if they have a mentor in their life, okay, just
Mm-hmm.
go to random people, just take a mic and simply ask them if they have a mentor in life. I mean, just imagine the number of people who will say that they don't have a mentor, right? Because it's difficult thing to find a mentor, right? It's a difficult thing to find somebody who would connect to you, who would understand you, who would feel relatable, who would listen to you, who would, let's say, uh, understand your craziness and your strangeness and
Mm-hmm.
your the issues in your life, and put aside the equations and, let's say, judgments, and help you, right? People
Mm-hmm.
don't have such people in their lives, right? But guess what? Books can be such mentors. For me, at least, books are such mentors. And
Okay.
and and in this time where life has become so fast paced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Books just give you an opportunity just to just sit back in a corner of a room in a cozy environment, just take
Mm-hmm.
a one page at a time, read it, have a good time, have enjoy it, just ponder over it, sleep over it, and it's just that closeness that I built with books, um, and that basically has built this relationship of, as I mentioned, curiosity for knowledge, right? Information. And while books are giving me all this information, so they became that mentor to me. And those authors who wrote that books basically became like a mentor to me. While their online personas, while their present day personas might be completely different than what they have written, right? I've seen that instances happen, but the books themselves become as a mentor, and I think that has created this affinity towards books, basically. To answer your question.
So, which book have you chosen today to speak about?
Yeah. So this is about Nassim Nicholas Taleb. I have the book as well. I'm not sure if it is inverted. I think it's
Yes.
inverted. I'm not sure.
No, it
In
is
the
visible.
image, is readable. Okay. So it's Antifragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Before explaining why I've selected this book, I'll talk about a small concept. It's called a
Okay.
Lindy effect. Okay. So what this means is that it's a rough rule. I mean, there are rough, let's say, rules in life which are obviously not applicable to 100% of things, but there's a rough rule that if a thing has been there for X amount of time, it will stay there for X amount of time. And when we are talking about X, we are talking about centuries here. Okay. So if there is a thing which has been there for, let's say, a millennium, it's very likely that it will continue to be there for another millennium. Okay. So, for example, just this bottle, right? Just having a bottle, this the core fundamental shape of the bottle has not changed since last 3,000 years, right? It's been the same, and if it has not changed, it will continue to be the same fundamental shape. So that's called Lindy effect, and there are very few books which are Lindy, right? So books which, I mean, if I simply ask you, I mean, if you're an author, I think you are, and if I have to ask you that you have to write a book which stays relevant for next 5 years. You'll have a certain mindset of writing it. Let's say you write it, and then I ask you write a book which is relevant for next 50 years. Then you'd have a completely different mindset. What about I ask you to write a book which is relevant for next 1,000 years? Okay, then that is the mindset with which this book has been written. The whole set of series of books that Nassim has written, they're Lindy books basically. And this book basically uh, talks about various concepts in life, doesn't have, let's say, while it has a core concept, but just simply expands that concepts to so many different, let's say, areas of life that is simply fascinating and various, like, a very it's a life changing experience altogether. So when I mentioned that the last 1 year I spent reading Nassim Nicholas Taleb, it's because I basically fell in love with these books, these series of books. It's basically Fooled by Randomness, and then Black Swan, then Anti-Fragile. There is also a book called Bed of Procrustes. Then we have Skin in the Game. But this is usually the best of that series, so that's why I selected it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Can you tell us something about the author?
Yes, I would like to. So this is a guy who basically was born in Lebanon. He basically fled to US and got into financial markets. The guy did not have, let's say, formal training, education, etc. And he spent roughly 20-25 years in the scene. Then went for study, formal study, and this is let's say PhD, and then it is MBA, PhD in math, statistics, and all these topics. Probability is was his favorite, and then basically lost his mind. And to summarize it, because he understood that there's so much fakeness around things, right? So he understood how people come up with answers to questions that are completely BS, and they basically those answers are basically fooled by randomness, for example, and are very fragile to various kinds of scenarios, outliers that they ignore. So he started writing these books. He wrote the first book in 2000, roughly 2001, fooled by randomness. Wrote Black Swan, and in 2007 around markets crashed in 2008. He kind of predicted the whole thing and became very popular because of that. And then he wrote Skin the Game. I think Skin the Game came in 2018, but Anti-Fragile roughly came in 2012, 13, and so on and so forth. So basically, the background in high on a high level background, the guy is a very technical guy, maths, probability, statistics background, and then basically he goes one step further than what regular people of this background do. He goes and one step further and tells you how to understand this world, right? People explaining this world in very complex mathematics and complex probabilities are so fragile, and they fail because things can happen which can have consequential effects. But he basically he understood things and explained it to common people in a very simple fashion about how to understand this world, basically how to live in this, how to survive in this world which is very let's say unpredictable. That's the core concept of his books.
Okay. Can you quote a few lines which you enjoyed the most while reading this book?
Yeah. Yes. If I'm asked that question, easily
Mm-hmm.
face one line easily, and they will
Mm-hmm.
know no other line which will come to this level. Okay. To
Okay.
summarize this whole series of books, everything that Taleb has written, and I'll just read it. It's just first line of this Antifragile,
Sure.
and yeah, and you can see like the star marks, right? It just, I don't know if it's visible,
Yes.
uh,
It
right?
is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those star marks basically that basically already puts you in the zone that this is what you're up for. And it
Mm-hmm.
says that wind extinguishes a candle and energizes a fire. You want to be the fire and wish for the wind.
Oh.
Okay. So don't run away from the wind, right? Don't run away. Just don't be the candle. Just be a fire. Just wait for the wind, right? You're a fire, and you just don't fear the wind. Then you're just waiting for the wind to happen, right? And when it's wind, and it's like you are 10x. You are something which is like unstoppable, and let's say something which is unbeatable. Then, right? So it's basically anti-fragile is the same concept. It's like anti-fragile is a strange word, right? A normal
Yes.
person who has not read about this book, heard about this book, would not have heard about this word itself, because there was no word to describe such a phenomenon, right? And
Yes.
that's why this name has come up. Maybe we'll discuss later in some other questions.
Sure. Would you like to share the plot of things or scheme of the book?
Yeah. So right question at the right time. So this is anti-fragile. So basically, he talks about talks about three categories of things in life. First is a fragile category. Second is a robust category. Third we'll discuss later. But thinking about these two, first category is something which is fragile, basically can be easily broken, is susceptible to such scenarios where if a stress comes to it, it will break. Right? Just imagine those courier boxes which have that label, that fragile glass inside. Right? You would not like them to be thrown if you're any person, if you see that label. So these are fragile things in life. Then there are robust things. Robust things do not have a label. They're like it's robust. Just throw it. It will be just fine. Don't worry about it. And and just imagining about something which is beyond this, right? It's is itself an innovation of its kind. It's something which is opposite of fragile, right? People think that opposite of fragile is robust, but
Mm-hmm.
thinking about fragile is that that's something which breaks in stress. Opposite of it will be something which becomes stronger in stress, right? So that is where the word comes from. It's anti-fragile, and it's basically the things which become stronger when they are put under stress, right? We as human beings are very fragile to various scenarios. I mean, I go to my office on a bike. I wear a helmet. I have bike shoes. I have gloves. I try to protect myself, but it's a high likelihood that a bunker will hit me from the back, and I'll be in ICU, right? And ICU costs, let's say, 25,000 a day, right? Roughly that much amount. And let's say if I'm there in the ICU for 1 month, if I don't have that level of a saving with me, I'll be on road, right? I'll be, let's say, ruined completely. And that's why health insurance is very important. Right? Small
Yeah.
concepts, right? It basically removes that fragility in your life. You pay a small
Okay.
premium, but at the end, such level of fragilities, you have that covered. So while you do not become stronger when you're hit by a bunker, but at the uh, same time you have your downsides, losses covered. So you're robust. You're like, okay, I'm not fragile for such scenarios. So then he basically goes to this particular concept of anti-fragile that I mentioned, where you become stronger with time, where you, let's say, you start lifting weights in the gym, and then basically with all those small let's say stresses that you're putting on your body, you become stronger with time. And
Mm.
that's the core concept of this book.
I see. I see. That's nice.
Actually, the books of Taleb go against. Basically, you will never be able to summarize them. It's the core essence of these books that that humans become fragile when they summarize things. Actually, it's a very let's say weird answer to your question. But once you read Taleb, you'll understand that while this one statement summarizes this, tries to hint towards what you're getting into, when he just goes into various topics, various aspects of your life, it's just a new concept of its own, stemming from this core concept. But it will completely change the way you think about things, and you'll keep coming up with similar relationships in your life of where this whole thing fits in completely new domains. He just enables you to think like him, and basically talks about thousands of things. And those thousands of
Mm.
things, given that they are completely different than each other, summarizing them is already a list. Like say, if we have to use one line to summarize all of them, it will be 10,000 line summary, right? So
Mm.
it's a
Mm.
very difficult question when it comes to Taleb. And Taleb hates summarization. He says that summarizations makes us fragile. When we summarize things, we put very difficult aspects of things outside the context. And these
Mm.
difficult aspects of things are the most important and consequential things of our life. And these are the outliers which we say ki, "Arey, ye to, this is an outlier scenario. I mean, this is a rare scenario. Let's not consider this. Let's not
Mm.
talk about the normal things." And rare scenarios is a truck hitting you behind on your bike, right? So these are the rare scenarios that he actually talks about, and summarization kicks out such rare scenarios. And that's why
Mm.
summarization of Talib's books are a very, very difficult job. Yeah. So
Okay.
while he talks about anti-fragility, how to become
Mm.
anti-fragile in life, right?
Mm.
How to enable that anti-fragility in life.
Mm.
So uh, any given thing will have its own way of anti-fragility,
Mm.
and and given that he talks about thousands of things, he assumes that the reader will be enabled to have this capability of defining it for a completely new s- domain, sector,
Mm.
aspect of his or her life.
Mm.
And that is why when I talk about when I'll be talking about this particular enablement of anti-fragility, I'll talk about one particular scenario, one small
Sure.
scenario
Mm.
where which is called iatrogenics. Okay,
Mm.
so what
Mm.
iatrogenics means is it's a medical term basically,
Okay.
and an engineer talking about medical terms. I mean that's the thing that Talib does to you, and it means that the side effects of intervention in life in medical terms. Let's say
Okay.
you have a small cold, a brief cold that just hit you because the weather changed in Pune, right? Which exactly did, and that's why I'm like with all my 4 days up here. It just happened the last weekend, and
Mm.
it hits you, and hits you hard. You are on bed, and then you are like, okay, let's see if it goes away. You sleep one night, wake up, and you see that it's not going away, and you just pop up an antibiotic pill. Okay,
Mhm.
just go to a medical store. You simply ask the guy that I'm having this cold. He gives you antibiotic or some medicine and a painkiller, and just it just goes away within 6 hours. The pain goes away in 15 hours, 15 minutes, and the whole thing just fixes within a day. So he talks about intervention. So this is an intervention in a regular course
Mm.
of life that we just did, and he talks about interventions in a way that if we have to analyze the intervention with its
Mm.
impact on life,
Mm.
those small interventions, they have a huge impact. Okay, they
Mm.
make us fragile. uh, we have had never such scenarios in the past, like in India
Mm.
effect, like thousand. Let's talk. He simply talks about things which are 1,000 years from 1,000 years, right? So that's why
Okay.
this book is very relevant for 1,000 years later as well. So our ancestors never popped up pills for smallest of issues, right?
Mm.
And the
Mm.
reason, I mean, what it did to them was it made them more and more robust to such scenarios in future. And when we are doing that, we are intervening in the normal course of actions that the body does and takes. And when we are doing it, it's making us fragile towards a very big rare scenario, which is waiting for just waiting for in the corner to come. Let's say to what decade later, right?
Mm.
So these small fights that the body does, right, makes it robust. makes it stronger next time for the next flu. And iatrogenics also talks about this microbial resistance that the whole population is developing because of this, let's say, widespread use of antibiotics, right? Doctors are facing so much hardship because the same antibiotics which are strongest of let's say innovations that the humans have come up with are not working for very genuine cases and patients, and just because these people have the bodies have developed the resistance to those antibiotics itself, right?
Right.
As a
Yeah.
side effect. So he talks about how to track, how to identify fragility in life, how to utilize it to become stronger. That pain of 2 3 days that you suffer, next time will not suffer. It will be easier, right? And I'm very proud to say that I did not pop any pill. I my weekend went off. Saturday, Sunday, I was on bed, basically. But Monday, it was great. It was great to be back and to be alive and to feel good without any medicine, right? And it's a small viral fever, right? That just came up. Um, I mean, not just a fever, just cough and a bit of cold, no fever. So smallest of things, basically, interventions are not important. We make ourselves more, let's say, strong, and makes us body become basically stronger in longer run. So that's a
Okay.
small concepts in medical terms. Let's talk about thousands of things, right? Thousands of similar things which are there in this book. So that's why it's highly recommended. My favorite.
Okay, great. Having talked about this book, now I would like to ask you, in which languages do you like to read?
Yeah, good question. Um, I'm reading English, but I love Hindi. Hindi because I come from UP. Um, there was this exam in the school, an open exam for anybody. A guy from class 1 can come up, and a guy from class 12, a girl can from class 12 can come up and sit in this exam and give it. And there was only one winner in the school, and I was the guy who would win it, Hindi exam, let's say. And I absolutely loved Hindi, reading Hindi. Somehow, in recent years, in job where I had to interact with these clients from different parts of the world, I have to stick to English, and also the main de facto language of communication. At least you can see in the community itself, in the local community itself, has become English. So somehow my Hindi reading has gone down, but Hindi is also a language I would love to get back to. I'm learning Marathi, so I'm picking up the
Okay,
language from the
nice.
streets. So I have made a very good friend who sells vegetables and fruits just outside the society. So she's teaching me Marathi. My cab driver who takes me to this site every week, client site every week, he's teaching me Marathi. And basically, I'm picking up from the signboards and those, let's say, nameplates, and naturally, and now every day I'm falling in love, more and more in love with Marathi, because just the way this whole community, this whole let's say region has embraced me. I just want to just give it back. I just want to be part of this community. I want to learn this language. So Marathi will be the next one. Even I just picked up one book called Partner, and Vishwas Patil. Books basically are the ones that I'm going to take
Oh,
up next. Yes,
oh,
and
nice.
Shivaji Sawant always had an impact. So I have not just read his Mrityunjay, but Chhava, Yugandhar. So in Hindi, but I would love to get back
Right.
and read them again in Marathi. So these are the language.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Does it happen with you that you start reading a book or books and you leave them halfway and
Yeah.
never complete the book?
Happens. Happens.
Mm-hmm.
So while I love books, I'm not emotionally attached to the levels where I finish them, and because life is too short to read the books that you don't like, right? And to watch the movies that you don't like, to entertain the people that should not be entertained, to spend the time in things that should not be spent. So I am completely fine dropping books unread. I have a lot of books that are unread. I keep them in the separate shelf. I keep them hidden. I don't put it for let's say in front of the table where most of my books are. So favorites take this place, uh, and I'm glad that I had opportunity to read those books, to get into those books, uh, but not. I mean, I could not finish. That's a sad part, but I don't feel bad about it. I just dropped them.
So do you find yourself rereading the books?
Yes, reading is the
Oh,
most
nice.
amazing part of life. I I think if you truly love a book, you would reread them. Okay, let's not put on other people. Let me put it on myself only. If I love a book, I'll reread it multiple times. I've read
Oh,
every book of Taleb 3 times, and there was
oh,
one full year where I did not read anything other than Taleb. I was just reading these set of books again and again and again and again, and I had to like take a break. I was like, okay, we like this is too much of reading. Let's take a break. Let's come back again next year. And pretty sure in 2025 I'll spend 3 to 4 months just reading these same books. When I say that these are Lindy books, these are books which will be reread. I'll be rereading them, let's say, for my whole life. This is the mentor, right? So, uh, and when you talk about things which are going to be relevant for thousands of years later, so that's the mentor that you would like to get back to. And sometimes we just need to be told the same thing again and again to get senses back in the place, right? So,
correct.
so I love rereading the books, and that for me makes me define what's my favorite. So when
Okay.
I'm rereading, I just know that this is my favorite book. Yeah, I love
Oh,
reading.
that's great. Wow, that was a wonderful discussion, Rishabh.
Yes, thanks.
Yes,
Thank
I
you for
love.
having me. Thanks for all the questions. I think you are a great host. I've seen multiple of my friends from the book community doing this, and I've enjoyed all of them.
Great. Thank you so much for joining, and you
Thanks
have a
for
good
having
day.
me. Have a good day as well. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me in conversation with Rishabh. See you again in the next episode of Book Readers Talks. Till then, have a good day. Bye bye.